shiver. Goalkeepers never, strikers they'll deliver. Crowd rolls around.
So Chelsea into the Champions League after yesterday's fixture versus Nottingham Forest. Now Champions League guaranteed. So Chelsea back in the European big stages. So now, what does this mean for Chelsea? What does this mean, for Enzo Maresca's team? What does it mean for the board? What does it mean in terms of transfer targets? And what does this mean in terms of the ambitions and status of the club? Now, like I said in the previous video, is wanting to have qualified for the Champions League. And it's another thing to say, okay, we're taking this opportunity to see how far we can go in the Champions League. And it's another thing to just say, yeah, we've qualified, and then we'll attract all the revenues that we can attract because we've qualified, and not really invest that much in the first team squad. Just take note of what I said, first team squad. Because for me, I'm tired of signing this 19-year-old, signing this 17-year-old, loaning back to a Brazilian club, loaning to Strasbourg, loaning to Benfica, and other type of things. We want to see what Luko will do, because the Champions League has been used to be the excuse why we have not signed, those top experienced players. Say, oh, the purse strings are tied, but you see, Luko, Clear Lake going on to sign two 19-year-olds for 50 million apiece. And then you wonder, you're spending 100 million on two players that are not ready to contribute now. Like the likes of Denner that was signed, he's not going to contribute till 2026. Quenda, top talent, won the kid FC from Sporting Lisbon, but he's not going to contribute this season, that is coming season. So you're looking at best case scenario, 2026, 2027 season, and then look at the team itself. Look at Jackson. Even if you're the biggest fan of Jackson, he hasn't been great. And definitely he's not the one you'll be looking at with any sort of confidence saying, yeah, you're going to the Champions League, with him. Add to the fact that Nkunku is gone. Whatever the reasons are, he is gone. Now, whether you're a big fan of him, like I was a big fan of him, I'm still a big fan of him because I know the quality he has. I know, the ability he possesses, but it just hasn't worked out. Chelsea, however, Enzo Maresca chose to treat him however he saw him. He knew his rightful position as a 10 or as an 8.5 behind the striker. He refused to play him that way. Let him rot on the bench. And now, for whatever reason, he's gone. So he'll be going. And that means more experience out the window. So for me, this should mean, from a player acquisition standpoint, signing top experienced players. Now, signing experienced players doesn't mean you sign someone who's 35 years old, that can't run anymore. You're signing people between 24, 25, 26, have experience, title winning or title challenging experience. Now, people may take this for granted, but it is really, really important. It's really important when you want to take Chelsea back to where Chelsea is or Chelsea used to be. You need to get those players that can be in the dressing room, speaking with the players with their whole mentality. It's all about winning, and they know what it takes to win. So that's why, for me, especially in that striking position, you don't just sign any striker. One thing is certain, I want a striker to come in because I don't think Nicholas Jackson can cut it on his own, because first off, he doesn't strike me as a complete striker, not even in terms of potential, because he has zero movement in the box, zero box awareness, and the way he shapes up to take shots when they come at him is just odd for me for a striker. So a striker must be signed. But the question is, what sort of striker are you going to sign? We've heard talks of Fabrizio Romano and Ben Jacobs saying, Chelsea will be making their decision on the striker they want to sign this week. Let's see how that happens. Let's see how it shakes down. But for me, I know the names like Liam Delap would come up. For me, I say he is a good striker with enormous upside, but he is not what Chelsea needs to sign this window. If this was Chelsea's first window, good, go ahead. First window under Clear Lake. If this was the first window, still, trying to build the team around young players. Fine, fair enough. But this window is even way past is way past the final window where you Chelsea were meant to compete. Because you remember the window that just this season that just ended, the summer window was meant to be the window where Chelsea becomes a complete team and ready to compete on all levels in all competitions. But that didn't happen. And the excuse was didn't get to qualify for Champions League, didn't qualify for the Champions League. So what that then means, or that what that then meant was, okay, we don't have the money to sign your top level players. But now Champions League have been secured, and you'll be going to the Champions League, so you should be attracting those top tier sponsorships. You should be, having more revenue from TV, and broadcast rights. You should be having more money from match day revenues. Therefore, you should be going for those players that can help the team win. Also, apart from the margin revenue, apart from the need to just win, which is the most important thing in football, you also have the issue of strength in depth, because that was one issue that came up earlier in the season. We're going on playing up. There was a whole talk about one team for the Conference League, one team for the Premier League, and then some quality players like Cole Palmer, couldn't play at the early stage of the Conference League. They had to play, only in the Premier League, and only towards the end of the competition have they, had some role to play in the team. But now the Champions League is a different kettle of fish altogether, because when you talk about the Champions League, it is the premier European football championship, at least in club football. So it's not like the Conference League where some players will want to sit on the bench. No, it's not like the Conference League where some players will not want to play in the tournament. So you need to get quality players in to help you compete at all levels. You need to get players that help you compete at all levels. So for me, going into this transfer window, I'm not even looking for 5-6 players. What I'm looking for going into this transfer window, I'm looking for 3 players, 3 core signings. And then after you make those 3 core signings, if you want to sign some other, this 19-year-old wonder kid, this 15-year-old wonder kid, this 16-year-old wonder kid from there, that's for you. But you need to get these 3 core signings in. For me, the one that's most important is that striker, that number 9 position. I know we complain about Robert Sanchez. For me, he is an issue, a big issue. The goalkeeping issue is a big issue. For me, I just feel Mike Pender should come in, be given the role as Chelsea number 1, Courtois 2.0. That's it. Jorgensen can go because he's not taking advantage of the opportunities he had, to displace Robert Sanchez. So I think he should go. So the major area, the number 1 area of focus for me is that striking position. And everyone knows my number 1 target, my number 1 option, because of what he just brings to the team. To every team he's been in, national team, club side, he brings that leadership, he brings goals, he brings aggression, he brings pressing. And that is Victor James Osimhen. For me, he is the complete striker. He is the kind of striker that Chelsea needs. One, he's got the pace to run in behind. He can run the channels, unlike what some people who I don't think quite watch him say. He's powerful in the air. He's got box move. His head is little. He's got box awareness. He can score with either feet. He can score with either foot. So he has this thing where you can play and hope. I'll call it play and hope. Drogba had it, Diego Costa had it, and he has it as well, which is a team could be pressing you up high. You're finding it difficult, to pass the ball through their press. And then you just say, okay, we'll just play this ball and we'll hope, because we've got Victor Osimhen there, we've got the Drogba there, we've got Diego Costa there. We'll just hit this ball and hope, because we know he'll be making those runs, because we know he can bring that ball in his chest, either win a foul or hold up the defender and allow the teammates to move off the pitch, and he can lay the ball off to them. Or he can just hold the defender off, turn the defender, run at goal, score, corner, and then the team can move off the pitch. So for me, he is my absolute number one target. Also, he's got that experience. People want to, for whatever reason, try to mock what he's done, what he did in Serie A, won league title for them, helped. It was a very important player for Napoli, winning the Italian Serie A, scoring over 20 goals, taking them far in the Champions League as well. And then now he went to Galatasaray. He scored over 30 goals in our competitions, helped them win 2 domestic trophies. But now people want to make fun of it. People want to mock it for whatever reason. Now, and then for me, the next one, if for whatever odd, strange reason you don't get Victor Osimhen, the next one for me is Viktor Gyokeres. Now, Viktor Gyokeres, the one thing I think Osimhen has over him is Osimhen, like I said, is that person that can hold the ball off, and then let his teammates come up the pitch. Viktor Gyokeres strikes me as this transitional striker, that would need to get the ball on the counter attack and run at, or the defense. Now, if this was Antonio Conte, he would fit Antonio Conte's style of play a bit. But then again, the next thing is how it's expressing, because you want someone that would press. And if Victor Osimhen would press normally, naturally, he wouldn't need Enzo Maresca to whisper in his ear, you need to press. He would press naturally, normally, for the full 90 minutes if he gets to play for the full 90 minutes. That I can guarantee you with Victor Osimhen. But Viktor Gyokeres, not quite sure about that. For me, he would be my number 2 anyways, because he's got the goals, he's got that box presence and that box awareness. Because why am I highlighting box awareness as very important? Because this season we've seen crosses flash across goal, no one there to convert it. The Newcastle game, if you remember, I think was it Noni Madueke that put the cross in. Nicholas Jackson made no attempt to even go for the ball. He was oblivious of the cross. And we've seen that too many times this season. Even in 2 prior seasons, we've seen this. Ball flash across goal, no one there to tap it in. Jackson, oblivious. 1v1, he messes it up. Yes, he's a young striker. He can develop, become a phenomenal striker later on in his career, fine. But Chelsea must look to win. So for me, Victor Osimhen, my number 1 choice. Number 2, Viktor Gyokeres, my second choice. Isak, I'm not quite sure if Chelsea will be able to get him. For me, if Chelsea would have been able to get Isak, then I would say, second choice. It would be my second choice. But for either of the strikers that you're looking to sign, you must be ready to pay the big bucks. I'm sorry, you must be ready to pay it. I keep telling people, stop looking at footballer salaries and begin to compare it to what you earn. Just forget about it. They're in a different world altogether. Look at what Salah earns, almost £400,000. Similarly, Kevin De Bruyne. Look at what Erling Haaland earns. Even someone like Kai Havertz is on £280,000 a week. So don't look at what footballers earn. Forget about it. If you want to get those top level players that guarantee you, they wake up in the morning, they guarantee you 20 goals plus a season, then you can't be nickel and diming. Because if you nickel and dime and you go on to sign a Sesko, you go on to sign a Liam Delap, then you must be ready to say, for the next 3 years, next 4 years, we are going to be okay with waffling around Champions League qualification and Europa League qualification, maybe win the odd Carabao Cup or the odd FA Cup, and be happy with that, because they need time to develop. Sesko hasn't been part of that title challenging team where he's the main guy. And one thing people don't get about the Premier League, you get to be bashed around. You get to be bashed around. And when you play for, let's say, the top 4, top 5 clubs, the way you're marked as a striker is different. It's absolutely different. You don't have the space you have when you're a striker that plays for a top, maybe the club that of 15 on the table, 16 on the table, or a newly promoted club. And that's what a player like Liam Delap is. So if you play at Ipswich Town, he had that space where every team he plays, or most teams that his team would come up against will always play with a high line, So most times when he hit on the counter, it's him versus one, maybe two defenders, and that's very important. But once you come to a Chelsea, that want to be possession dominant, that want to play high up the pitch as well, want to play with the high line as well, then you would be marked differently by the opposition defenders. And this includes the defenders for the top six, the defenders for clubs below. It's going to be difficult. They're going to mark you differently. You're going to be bumped a lot more. You're going to be hit a lot more. Can you take it? And then you have the intangibles. That's what people forget about. The intangibles, which is leadership. Are you used to winning? Are you used to rallying the troops? Are you used to rallying your teammates? Can you go on the pitch and your teammates look at you as, our leader on the pitch? Chelsea of old, you had the Drogba on the pitch, you had the Lampard on the pitch, you had the Ballack on the pitch. But now you don't have those sort of players on the pitch. Obviously, you're not going to get a Ballack, you're not going to get a Drogba, obviously. But who are those new set of leaders that are in this team? Palmer, top player, Chelsea's most important player, because each time he plays very well, Chelsea play very well, 100%. But in terms of being a leader on the pitch, I don't think so. So you need to get players that are used to winning, that can come and bring that winning mentality into the dressing room. For me, I'll look at Osimhen, I'll look at De Bruyne, I'll look at Rudiger. I've mentioned these names because these are players that you can get. Kevin De Bruyne, he's on a free transfer. He would be leaving Man City. That's almost certain. And he said he's for the first time in a long while, he's feeling pain-free. So I think if you have a Kevin De Bruyne in that midfield, now I'm not saying he's going to play every single minute, but 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes he plays the full 90 minutes. But the leadership he brings into that dressing room, the winning mentality he would bring into that dressing room, the effect of that is unmeasurable. Rudiger, we all know what Rudiger brings: aggression, tenacity. He brings that into that game. Rudiger is another person you can bring in and say, okay, Erling Haaland, take care of him, and Erling Haaland will be out of the game. If someone you can say, Isak, take care of Isak, and Isak will be out of the game. And the likes of Colwill, we've seen Colwill's best play or Colwill's best performances have been when he's played alongside a more experienced defender. Like the previous season, when he played alongside Thiago Silva, you saw how he played. But each time he played alongside, defenders who were on relatively the same level of experience with him, he struggled. And he struggled this season. And you see when he's played his best is when he's played alongside Tosin. If that's not, it's not even a coincidence. So for me, I think that's really, really important to get those sort of three players in the team. Now, so for me, that's what it means. Now, you're back in the Champions League. You must make sure you go and get your recruitment right. You cannot afford to get your recruitment wrong, in my opinion. You cannot afford to get your recruitment wrong. Because Chelsea have been in the, would I say, doldrums? Is it doldrums to use? Chelsea have been in the doldrums way too long, in my opinion. So there's no point faffing about in the transfer window. You need to get the right players to be in the right position, in my opinion. Now, with Enzo Maresca, what does it mean? Champions League football. Now, You're in the big boys league right now. There's no mucking about. No need. There's no more excuses anymore. No more excuses going to the Champions League and you start saying things like, "Oh, this player can play in the Champions League, or this player who play league games." You must select your best team in every game. The best team every game. And now as well, you'll be having tons of players coming in, especially in that defensive midfield role. And for me, I think Enzo Maresca right now has to begin to think how he's going to tweak his tactics. He has to begin to think how he will tweak his tactics. Because right now you're going to have like at least four central defensive midfielders in the building. Are we still going to be inverting players? Will Chelsea still be inverting your fullbacks, predominantly inverting fullbacks, or you take advantage of this, set of defensive midfielders that are coming in. Dario Esugo will be coming in. Andre Santos returning from a loan. Leslie Gochku returning from a loan. So you must begin to use these players in the team. And this inversion business, it doesn't quite work. I know the odd game here and there, it would work, and people go, "Wow, oh, this is how we should be playing." No, you should allow your fullback to be dynamic. And for me, when you've got the amount of midfielders that Chelsea have on our books, you can't, be dropping them on the bench and having fullbacks in those midfield positions. For me, you could have a pairing of Esugo and Caicedo, or Caicedo and Andre Santos, or Andre Santos and Lavia and Leslie Gochukwu. There's no need, having Reece James play in midfield. There's no need to have Augusto or Corolla play in midfield. Now they can invert and be dynamic, but to have them housed in those midfield positions, for me, I don't think it really makes sense. It doesn't make sense for me, in my opinion. It doesn't make a little sense, in my opinion. Now, in the press conference, Enzo Maresca went on. He said basically to the media who doubted the team and doubted him to f off. Now, for me, I don't have any issues with coaches saying saying things like that. I don't have any problem with coaches puffing up their chest, even with players. I don't have an issue with it. But when you begin to do that, then you must start performing. Because we had that with Jose Mourinho. He will talk, the big talk in press conferences, and he will deliver. So once you start talking that way, no issues. But you must deliver. In my opinion, you must deliver. You must deliver. And now back to what this means. Chelsea, yes, qualified for the UEFA Champions League. Beating Nottingham Forest. And for me, I'm so happy because not just because, of course, Chelsea qualified. That's enough reason. But the way people were going on about it, almost like Chelsea were, a side just promoted from the championship and didn't have any chance. Everyone was saying Nottingham Forest will qualify. We were saying Aston Villa will qualify. But there you have it. But on Villa, before I go on to talk more about Clear Lake and Blue Co, I'll speak about Aston Villa. See what happens to Aston Villa? A good goal was disallowed, and now the PGMOL have come back to would I say apologize, to admit that they got the decision wrong. But now, what does that admission or apology, what does it do for Aston Villa? Nothing. So why can't you get it right on the day? Why can't you get it right on the day? With all the camera angles, with all the technology VAR you have in place, you should be getting the decisions right. And if this was something that happened to Chelsea and you complain, I'm sure you have some Villa fans that'll be saying, "Oh, why are you complaining? You complain too much." That's it. That's it for you. Now, back to talking about Clearly Capital and Blue Co, Egbali, Todd Bowley. Now, Chelsea have qualified for the Champions League. They show Todd Bowley embracing the James. Good, nice sight to see, nice to behold. But now in the Champions League, now in the big leagues, things have to change. Things have to certainly change. It's not just the money that it will bring in, because of course, Champions League football right now, lots of money coming in. What FIFA Club World Cup, lots of money coming in. Hearing what is it, £1 billion or so? Is that what the winner would get? I don't think it's up to £1 billion. It's 190 something million pounds. But either way, lots and lots of money. And what people forget is once your club has qualified for that tournament or is going to play in the tournament, the amount of money you're going to get from sponsors and advertisers and all that is enormous, and that's not even attached to the prize money. But that aside, going into this season, the transfer strategy has to change. It seriously has to change. You have to get players that can help the team win right now. Win right now for me, definitely. You have to get players that can help the team win right now. And keep all these briefings and PR rubbish out of it. Because we're hearing the wild briefings right now about Victor Osimhen, Al Ali, he's agreed to sign with Al Ali. And some fans are saying, he loves money too much, he wants to go to play for Al Ali. That's not it. Keep all this briefing aside. Be serious about it. Any player you're going to sign, that is a top level player, you're going to have to pay the big bucks. That's how it is. That's how it works. There's no excuse except you want to sign a kid that will come in and you need another 3, 4, 5 years for the kid to come good. And that means you're deciding to scratch off another season. Forgo another season. That means you're trying to say 2025, 2026 season will be reaching off. You're not looking to win that season. And it's way, way too long. Like I said earlier on in the video, if this was the first window, if this was the first transfer window on that player leg, then you say, okay, all right, we're allowing them this one, trying to build the team up, start from scratch. But no, this is way too late in the day for you to still have your primary transfer strategy as signing these young kids. You may say that wonder kids to come good. No. You can't be signing 10, 20 of them. Just like you want to buy a pair of shoes, you may have a particular brand of shoes that may cost, let's say, £100. Very, very expensive. But that shoe can last you for 2, 3 years. And then you have a pair of shoes, a brand of shoes that maybe cost you £15. And then you buy 10 of those shoes. So you buy 10 of those shoes, but by the time you get to 3 months in, 9 of them are sports. By the time you get to 4 months in, they're all bad. So what's the point? Same thing with this. You don't want to spend money on the Victor Osimhen, you don't want to spend money on the Gyokeres, but then again, you want to sign all these young players like a McGee that wouldn't come good for 2, 3 years. And it's not even a guarantee. You're not even guaranteed. That's just the length of time you are admitting that you have to give these players to see if they will come good. It's not even guaranteed that at the end of those 3 years, at the end of those 4 years, your McGee will come good. You're not even sure if a Sesko will come good. You're not sure. Because what people forget is the stage Sesko is in right now was the stage Gyokeres was in 3, 4 years ago, was the stage Victor Osimhen was 4, 5 years ago. People forget it. That the stage Sesko is right now, the stage not even a Liam Delap is right now, all these young strikers are in at the moment. The stage that players like Gyokeres and your Victor Osimhen have gone past. And you should be looking for those top level strikers. And you don't have that many that are available. For instance, Lewandowski, I think he's old right now, but he still scores goals here and there for Barcelona. But he's not leaving anytime soon. And then if you can pay 12 million euros before tax salary for Victor Osimhen, then I'm sure you can pay 33 million euros for that was Lewandowski earns. You can't pay that. And then even if it's an Isak you want to sign, even if you feel Isak is the guy, you must pay that big bucks. Gyokeres, you must pay the big bucks. Osimhen, you must pay the big bucks. So you have that's you're now in the big leagues. If you want to compete, Because it's one thing you qualify, get to the Champions League, and it's one thing to remain there, to go there after this season, the next season you're there consistently for the next 10 years. And again, even if you decide that, we want to sign a lot of these young players, that's still fine. But sign 3 core players that impact your team positively immediately, that affect positively the ability of your team to win immediately. When you sign those 3 players, then you can sign every other, wonder kid you like. But get those players in the building that for sure 100% can help you win. And why I talk about De Bruyne, Kevin De Bruyne is one of these players that, midfielders that is an assist-first midfielder. So he always looks for the best option. The striker is in a good position. Is this inverted winger is in a good position, lays the ball up for him. And it would do Palmer a world of good to have someone like a Kevin De Bruyne in the building. It would do him a world of good. It would do him a world of good to have such an experienced head in the building. And people may talk about, the wages. Lots of players have to be cleared out. Raheem Sterling has to go, for sure. He's on 3+ K pounds a week. That clears that up. He has to go. And for me, for players like Raheem Sterling, you shouldn't be looking to make a profit. I think that's one thing that Clearly Capital have done that have cost them. They've been looking to make profits from players that are no longer that good enough. You shouldn't be expecting to make a profit from the sale of Raheem Sterling. I'm sorry. If you get a team coming with 15 million pounds, 20 million pounds, good, let him go. Just so fast you can get some money in the kitty and get his wages off. Then, of course, your Disasi, for me, has to go. I saw Badiashile celebrating with the team. That's nice to see, lovely to see. Yeah, it's good to see Benoit. It's good to see. But he has to go as well because he is just not good enough. He's not good enough. Because one thing with Badiashile is, each time last season or the season prior when you played alongside Thiago Silva, yeah, it was good. But each time you paired with Colwill, it was disaster. So you can't have all these young defenders and all need to play alongside experienced defenders. Badiashile has to go. Disasi has to go. Because for me, Disasi is an okay defender. He's not fantastic. He's an okay defender when he plays centrally as a center back. When he plays centrally, that's when he's at his best. Having him play all these weird new sort of hybrid roles where you're playing as a wide right center back, you're playing as a center back and you're kind of playing like a fullback because your fullback has to invest into midfield. He can't cut it. One, he doesn't have the legs. If a winger comes up against him, that's curtains. Any average winger with decent pace is curtains for Disasi. He has to go. Badiashile has to go. Raheem Sterling for sure has to go. Nkunku, a player I love that I saw at Leipzig was very good. Pre-season was very good, but for whatever reason, Enzo Maresca chose to play him the way he played him, and his head is no longer at Chelsea, unfortunately. So he also has to go. So with all these players leaving, that frees up, the wage bill for you to go sign people. In addition to revenues you'll be getting from Champions League and for finishing fourth as well. So you have to go and get performers that can come in the building immediately and perform from day one. From day one, you don't need any more 4 or 5 years players. You need players that come in and from day one, they're performing. You don't need players that come in and you need to give them for 5 years. No, you can still sign those, but those shouldn't be your primary recruitment targets. Those shouldn't be your primary recruitment targets. And speaking of players that have to go, Rob Sanchez, I think maybe you should put on the best performance you've ever put up in the Conference League final against Real Betis on Wednesday, and put yourself in the shopping window. I think he has to go 100%. Rob Sanchez, he has to go because he's not been good enough. He's had his moments, like in the game versus Nottingham Forest, On Sunday, he had his moments, claiming balls out of the air for fun, making some nine saves as well. But he's not consistent enough. He's not consistent enough. So I think he has to go. So that frees up some more wage capital. He has to leave. And then, speaking about players that still have to move, we talk about João Felix. Now, personal preference, I think João Felix should stay with Chelsea. Personal preference, because I see what he can do playing in that central role, in that central attacking midfield role. I see what he can do. I see him as someone that can pair up with Cole Palmer if you want to go to lone six. I see him as someone that can come on for Cole Palmer if Cole Palmer is tired or injured or you just want to shake things up a bit. But if Enzo Maresca isn't going to play João Felix, then he has to leave. This is sad. And I said this when Chelsea missed out on a Morodion to sign João Felix. I said, João Felix is a good player. He's a very good player. Very, very good player. But he wasn't the profile of player that Chelsea needed at that time. He wasn't the profile of player that Chelsea needed. Chelsea needed a striker. And for whatever reason, they chose to be smart about it and, got to run for their own back. Now what you have is you have João Felix that, for whatever reason, Enzo Maresca doesn't want to play. And before I go on to more players that have to leave, I have to talk about Enzo Maresca. Now you're in the Champions League. You have to learn how to rotate certain key players in the team. You have to learn how to rotate certain key players in the team. You don't play players into the ground anymore. Yesterday, I felt bad for Cole Palmer. He looked absolutely shattered yesterday. He looked shattered yesterday. And this is because he's been playing too many games for too long. That is, he's been playing full 90 minutes game in, game out, even when most of the time he looks like he's been chopped in half. The Wolves game was an epitome of that. The game versus Wolves at Stamford Bridge, it was kicked up and down the park. The referees being what they are, you can count on them anyways. But Enzo Maresca refused to sub him off. He refused to change him. He didn't bring João Felix on. He didn't bring Nkunku on. So going into this 2025-2026 season, that has to change. You have to learn to use your squad, especially the Champions League. And the Champions League, it's not like the Conference League where players will be okay not playing in it. Every player will want to play in the Champions League. So you can't say, oh, we'll have this team for Champions League, we'll have this team for Premier League. No, everybody wants to play in the Champions League. So, Enzo Maresca, you have to use your squad. You have to use your squad. And then back to players that have to leave. Philip Jorgensen, I'm sorry, sir, you have to go. He just has to go. Now, if he was a 6, fine, because he's so good on the ball, composed on the ball. In that regard, he's better than Sanchez, night and day. But when it comes to stopping shots, my days, guy is so poor. That Liga Warsaw game at home to Liga Warsaw at Stamford Bridge, everything that flew in his direction, he let it pass. Everything that flew in his direction went either into the net or almost did. So for me, Philip Jorgensen, I think he has to leave. I don't know how Chelsea will do getting the backup, because I think Chelsea number 1 going into next season should be Mike Penders. A lot of people are talking about Diego Costa from Sporting Lisbon and the likes. But for me, I think Mike Penders should come in. He's 6'7". He's been showing what he can do in Belgium. I think he should come in and be Chelsea's number 1. If Jorgensen is okay being number 2, fine. If Sanchez is okay being number 2, fine. But one of them would have to leave, free up that wage bill, get players in that you need. And for me, enough of these number 10s, enough of these 19-year-old number 10s and wingers. Enough of them. This is not EA 25. This is real life. You can't be signing everybody with speed. Everybody with speed. No. Get the player that you need in the team. You need a striker, get a striker in. You need another midfielder, get a midfielder in. You need a goalkeeper, get a goalkeeper in. And when we're talking about midfield, this we have way too much defensive midfielders, so no need to spend any more money on that. You go and you get you an attacking central attacking midfielder. Like for me, I've said De Bruyne because of the experience he brings, the winning mentality that he will bring into that dressing room. And I think for me, each time he plays against Chelsea, he kind of drops a hint that he had unfinished business at Chelsea. Because I don't think he was happy with the way he left Chelsea under Mourinho. I don't think he's happy with that. So what may be a stumbling block could be his wages because of this wage structure now. But you have to think as well, what would he bring to the team? Because winning mentality, how can you quantify it? Can you put a price on it? Can you put a price on the experience, winning experience? Now, this is not some player that sat on the bench, while his team won. For everything that Man City has won, Kevin De Bruyne has been instrumental. He has been important. He has played a significant role. So he's not one of those that went along for the ride. Not like Kovacic when he was at Real Madrid and barely played but won the Champions League, or like Lukaku at Chelsea didn't really play, and supposedly got the Champions League medal. He actually was crucial to everything Man City, he has been crucial to what Man City has done till date. So if you're getting him in, you're getting that level of experience. Now, if for whatever reason you don't want to get him, maybe wages and all that, okay, go get me Ryan Cherki. He is the closest thing I've seen to Eden Hazard. The only caveat you can put there is Ligue 1 is a good league, but you wouldn't say it's in the top 3 leagues in Europe. So let's see what he does when he goes to the Premier League, for instance. So let's see what he does if he indeed comes to Chelsea. Now, a lot of people are going on about attitude issues and all that stuff. Scratch that. Just stop it. The same thing was said about Eden Hazard. I remember when Chelsea were linked to him, linked to his signature while he was at Lille, we were going on about, he has attitude issues, character issues. But when he came to Chelsea, he was not the most vocal of leaders. He wasn't one to point and shout, "Dude, go here, go here." No. But when he was on the ball, absolute magic. Absolute magic. And I would say if Eden Hazard was in this team, even at 70 to 80%, Eden Hazard in this team, Chelsea would have quite easily finished in third or second, if not compete for the league title, because he would free up every other player. And I think Ryan Cherki, while he's not yet hit the highest of heights of Eden Hazard, I think ability-wise, how he can help unlock deep blocks, glide past 3 to 4 players, and also create that healthy competition for Cole Palmer, and sometimes come on for him in some games, start some games ahead of him. I think he's someone that Chelsea should look to sign, especially he's cheap, because Chelsea like to do cheapskate things. He's cheap, about 20, relatively cheap anyways, 20 million pounds or thereabout, something like that. So relatively speaking, in footballing terms, he's cheap. He's right there. Maybe you go get him, especially if Nkunku will be going, as I think he will be going. Especially if Fabrizio Romano has said it, that Nkunku is more or less gone. João Felix could also very well be gone. So if you're losing those 2 players, then maybe you get someone who's a bit cheaper, but I think who's a better player overall than I think he is a better player potentially, not overall, potentially than João Felix. So you can bring him in. But one thing is sure, you need not a replacement, but you need competition for Cole Palmer. You need a replacement for him. Sometimes you watch games, he's struggling. Enzo Maresca just sits there and watches. He just sits there and watches. So he needs to come. If Chelsea gets him, that'll be good. And then in defense, I've talked about Tony Rudiger. Jonathan Tah was, someone I was looking at, but he's gone to Bayern. But now you have Anthony Rudiger. Tony Rudiger, I think he's someone that can come in and make an impact. But then again, he's another one who people will say his salary, his wages, and what that. But imagine Rudiger alongside Colwill. I know they signed a young centre back from Strasbourg, but he's still very young. I know sometimes we'll be taken over by clips of how the player, he's done this, these YouTube clips and all that. Now that's fine. but still a very, very young player. And when you pair two very young centre backs, does it quite work out well? I don't think so. You need to have that one experienced guy that you would have, and always pair a young player, young centre back around alongside. Now, for me, Tosin has been fairly decent. Tosin Adorabayo has been fairly decent for Chelsea. Now, you saw how he played yesterday. You saw how he marshaled the defense. So for me now, but one thing that's still left is if Chelsea are really convinced and say they want to keep him or they want to let him go. So if Chelsea are looking to let Tosin leave, then that leaves the defense with a lot of inexperienced people. Jan Selmino, this guy from the player from Strasbourg, Colwill, they're all very, very young centre backs. And for me, why I say Chelsea should get experience in, one of the reasons is I'm tired of these young players' excuse. Oh, the team is so young, he's so young. I'm tired of it. I'm tired. Because if you decide that a player is good enough to take the spot of a mortgage paying adult, then he best put on the show. He best put on the show. If you bring an 18-year-old and say he's so good, he's better than that 25-year-old defender with tons of experience, then he must come in and marshal the defense perfectly. But most times these young players are not ready, and lots of fans use that as an excuse. Oh, it's too young, the team is too young. How many more seasons would Chelsea keep playing this, lyrics of young squad, young squad, young squad, young squad, young squad? You must get some experienced players in the building to help these players along, to help the coach, to help Enzo Maresca along. Enzo Maresca is a young coach. Sometimes he needs players, experienced players on the pitch that can direct the young players on the pitch on how things should go. That can help them make some discretionary decisions. Because sometimes when you have young players, they take the instruction of the coaches to the letter. Like for instance, I've seen moments where your Malugusto would just not overlap. Sometimes he would be so scared to overlap. Even when you have someone about to lay the pass off, he would not move. Because the instruction of Enzo Maresca has been, you invest, you stay in that midfield, you don't go outside. I don't like my defenders overlapping. I don't like my defenders overlapping, which is weird to me to say you don't like your fullbacks overlapping. But that's what he said. So when you have a bunch of young players, sometimes discretion is thrown out the window. When you have a coach that's beat into their brains, fullbacks, you don't overlap, you invert, you remain in that midfield spot. And I want to ask the question right now. If you're watching, you're a Chelsea fan, if you're a Chelsea fan, what do you think Chelsea should do with all the defensive midfielders that are coming in, either the ones that have been signed or the ones that have returned to the club on loan, from their loan deals? What do you think Chelsea should do? Should Enzo Maresca still be insistent on this inverting business, when you're having your fullbacks invert and you play one actual central midfielder in there, and then you push the other midfielder forward like he does with Enzo Fernandez, pushes him up almost like an 8. So what would you do? What would you do if you're Enzo Maresca's shoes? For me, if I had this amount of central midfielders coming in, I'll just go and play typical orthodox central midfield pairing. Caicedo, Lavia, Santos. Santos, Leslie Gochuku. Enzo, Andre Santos. And then have your 10 be an actual 10. Because in the game versus Nottingham Forest, in addition to Palmer looking a bit tired because he's been absolutely kicked up and down this season and he's played way too many games, in my opinion, he was coming up in some odd spots. Nowhere near the striker, nowhere near that attacking third. Sometimes you see him, it will be almost like in front of, the left back. What is happening? How is he expected to create when he's playing so far away from, the attack, so far away from the striker? So for me, I think Enzo Maresca, use the tools you have, use your squad properly, keep things simple. Keep things simple. And from a blue co clearly capital perspective, blue co clearly capital perspective, recruitment strategy, you have to switch it up. No more 19-year-olds, no more 20-year-olds, no more 17-year-olds. Go to South America and you sign 10, 17-year-olds and can't help you win now. I said, even if you're looking at it from a pure business standpoint, a pure business perspective, like we just want to make money, even if that's what you're looking at it from that point of view, you can only make the money you want to make if the team is winning. If the team is winning, winning Champions League titles, winning Premier League titles, hitting semi-finals in the Champions League, winning FA Cups, winning Carabao Cups, at least getting to the finals regularly, finishing top 2 regularly in the Premier League. Then you attract more sponsors, you have more money coming in from TV rights and all that. Then you can make the money you make. So even if it's just to make money, if that's what Clearly Capital want to do, even if they're just here to make money, if you want to make money, the team should be winning. It goes hand in hand. The team wins, you make money. That's how it works. And one thing again, because I had this a slight, I was slightly cynical. Not cynical. I was slightly, what I say, skeptical. That's the word. I was a bit skeptical when there was talk of Clearly Capital taking over Chelsea. My thing was, would they come in with this interpretation of American sports, or would they embrace European and English sports the way it works and apply themselves that way? Because in the NFL, NBA, you can afford for your team to be bad for 10 years. You can afford that. Your team can be bad for the next 10, 15 years, and then you use that opportunity to stockpile on draft picks and end up getting, within those 15 years, you get like 4, 5 top level young players. But in the in European football, in English football, Premier League, La Liga, you don't have that time. You don't have that time to rely on young players for that long, because teams can go out there and buy players. Teams can go out there and buy players, and in the NBA, and I don't know about MLB, but in the NBA, NFL, a team can't just go to. I don't think the Dallas Cowboys can go to Kansas Chiefs and say, okay, we want to buy Patrick Mahomes from you, maybe for $50 million or $100 million. No, you can't do that. It has to be a trade where you send players, and it's a bit more difficult to do. But here, clubs can go buy players and improve their team. So you don't have that time on your hands to wait for 10 years, to wait for 15 years for your team to come good. Because whilst you're waiting, and then an ownership change can happen. For instance, you could have Brighton where they are, and then you have, a billionaire owner come in, take over Brighton, and then in 2 seasons, they're competing and coming for what you have. Because in football, like in life, if you play with your food, someone else will snatch your plate. If you're playing around this opportunity you've had, you got to the Champions League, and then rather than using the opportunity to sign top-level players that can help you win the Premier League, at least compete for the Champions League and domestic cups, you go on to sign some more young players. Whilst you're doing that, some other club, like for instance Brighton, could be taken over, and in less than 2 years could be ahead of you. Because the Premier League has been packaged in such a way where it's become an attractive brand. People want to invest in it, people want to own clubs. And whilst you're there mocking about, some other person can buy a club, invest in the club, and they push you out of the way. So it's really, really important that this opportunity is not taken for granted, because this used to be the excuse. the past two, at least the past two seasons, that this has been the excuse. Oh, no, in Champions League football, don't have the money, don't have the resources, to sign players. But right then, you spend 100 million, 200 million signing 4 or 5 players that may not come good, that may never come good, or even if they come good, would not be at Chelsea. So overall, for me, what does this mean? It means Chelsea are back in the big leagues. It means Enzo Maresca must up his game. It means clearly Capital must, switch up their transfer strategy, go on and get players that can help the team win right now. Help the team win right now, as opposed to, players that you're hoping in 10 years can come good. You're hoping that you're getting players that can come into the team and help the team win right now. And for me, those players that I'm going to say my choices. For me, striker Victor Osimhen. That's it. Midfield, if you can get De Bruyne, you get him. If you can't get him, you get Ryan Cherki. That's it for me. And then you're going into the defense. For me, Tony Rudiger. You get him back from Madrid, because Madrid have got Huijsen, and I think they're happy with that. For me, you get Tony Rudiger back. He brings that experience in that defense, and that would make Colwill a far better defender, because we know when he plays alongside an experienced defender, he always plays better. He always stands 10 times higher than when he plays with another, youngish centre back. When he plays experienced defenders, he's better. So you come in, you do this, and then Sanchez, he has to go, and Jorgensen possibly leaves as well, but definitely not the number one. Mike Penders comes in, becomes the number one. We take that into next season. And then Enzo Maresca mentality has to change. 1,000% has to change. No more, we're not in the title race. No more, we're not in the hunt for any title. No. You've had your honeymoon season where supposedly there were zero expectations. Now going into the season, you must win. Those are the expectations right now. And for me, my expectations of Enzo Maresca right now, you have to tweak your tactics a bit. You have to tweak it, especially when you have lots of players in certain parts of the pitch. You can't go on, with this business of over-inverting people and you're not overlapping, you're not changing things up. You have to tweak it up. You have to, especially when you have some of the most electrifying fullbacks in world football, Gusto, Rhys James. And if you're going to get an Osimhen coming in, then those balls must be coming in the box. And we all know what Rhys James' superpower is. We all know what Malo Gusto's superpower is. Get to that byline, whip those crosses in, and Victor Osimhen will be there. Maybe I'll give Enzo Maresca an out to say, okay, he knows he has Nicholas Jackson, and Nicholas Jackson is not the best in the box. Maybe give him an out there. So you get an actual top striker in the Victor Osimhen instantly. That's goals for you. If you get those balls in the box, Victor Osimhen will be there. And some mistake or harsh judgment that people put around is, I think, which is silly, because I don't think people do their research. I don't even think they even watch the player. He's very good in the air, no doubt. He's very aware in the box, no doubt. But he does much more than that. He runs the channels, he's got pace, he's pressing, his hold-up play, finishing either foot. So these are the things I think, and plus his leadership, which is so, so important. His leadership. Liam Delap, does he have the leadership? Sesko, does he have the leadership? Because there's no one in this team that Sesko will turn to for inspiration, for leadership. Because who is he going to turn to? Because they're all in the same age brackets. Yes, they can be cool together. They can, when it's going good, they can all be excited and play maybe some exciting football together. But when it gets tough, when you come up against oppositions that won't let you breathe, that will make things difficult for you, then who do you turn to? That will say, oh, I've been there before. Okay, this is how we're going about it. So for the leadership purposes, I think Osimhen or Gyokeres, especially Osimhen, because I think he's done more in Europe. You can say Viktor Gyokeres has scored more goals, but I think Osimhen has just done that bit more. So My take on Chelsea being back in the Champions League. That's my take on what I expect from clearly what I expect from Enzo Maresca, and then what I expect from the players is this: right now you're in the big leagues. Now players are playing in Champions Leagues. I think some of you guys, some of these players have been at Chelsea now for 3 years or thereabout. Now you're no more kids. You have to show what you can do. You have to take a game to the next level. And then, of course, before next season even starts, before the Club World Cup even starts, there's a tournament to win. There's a Conference League on Wednesday to go. For sure, Real Betis, there are no slouches. There are no slouches. In fact, that's a game that Chelsea should take super seriously. In fact, there's no need to say, "Oh, Chelsea took them for granted." No, because if you see, the way Chelsea played against Gardens, the way Chelsea played against Copenhagen, the way they played against Liga Warsaw, just tells you that if you play that way against Betis, it's not even going to be a 1-0 loss. It could get up. It could be a nasty scoreline, like 3 or 4-0. If you play that way and give a Betis that much as much chances as you gave, as many chances as you gave to these other teams, then it's going to be an embarrassing day at the office. So Chelsea have to take that game seriously, and no arrogance trying to fight to win that, to win that midfield battle. You have to go out wide, stretch the play. So thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for subscribing and supporting the channel. At this point, I've come to the end of this video, and hopefully I'll see you on here in another video. Stay well, stay blessed.